டிசேபிள் ஆகல.
சார் இப்போ செக் பண்ணுங்க சார். You can share your screen now. Yes, sir.
Hey, I got the homeworks and all, but only from a few people, not from everyone. Okay, I have got the homeworks from very select people. I have got it. What homework? Last week I gave some homework and then you were supposed to submit it. I gave 2 questions and I asked you to write the answer. I have got it from few people, not from everyone. I will send message. So yeah, then you will understand it. Who all have not submitted. Okay, so now we were like looking at this chapter called as tissues. So in tissues, we were talking about meristematic tissues last week. We have studied about meristematic tissues completely. So now we will go ahead with permanent tissues. Sanjeevi, you need to like kind of like think about it. Take mitosis, see what happens. Take meiosis, see what happens, and then like deciding on based on that particular thing, you please try to answer. I will give you some more time. You can just think, not today. I mean, like you try to take tomorrow, day after. See if you are able to solve it. If you are still not able to solve it, I will clarify it in the next class. Okay, so now coming to permanent tissues. We have seen what is permanent tissue. We have defined what is permanent tissue already. So now we'll go ahead with the types. The first one is what we call it as parenchyma. Parenchyma is like one kind of permanent tissue. So let us try to see what is parenchyma. Please draw this. You're just drawing some big ovals attached one by one. So the parenchymatic tissue will be like this. Okay. The parenchyma are oval or spherical in shape. They have thin cell walls. what are you able to see? Do they have space in between them or they don't have space in between them? No space. They have intercellular spaces. You are able to see, like if I'm going to draw the next one, what is this area in between? This area in between. So this area in between, this area in between. So that is all like they have like intercellular spaces. Okay. They have intercellular spaces between cells. And then they are living cells. They store substances. So in a plant, if you're going to see parenchymatic tissue, they are considered to be living cells and they will also store substances. The main function of parenchyma is what? The parenchyma will store. Store means what? They will reserve things. They do not have isodiametric cells. How they can store means it is like kind of like you have carrot. What is carrot made up of? Carrot is fully made up of parenchymatic tissue. So whatever that fruits and all that you're eating and all, like it's all they will be made out of parenchymatic tissues. And store food reserve like that they will store. Isodiametric cells are all like only in meristematic cells. So here you see like there some of them will be big, some of them can be small. Though they need not have like fixed shape. They are not isodiametric. Please copy this. Okay. So there are different types of parenchymatic cells. You have different types of parenchymatic cells are there. So you have different types, like one is what we call it as florenchyma. Then you have something called as aerenchyma. And the third one is what we call it as idioblast. Okay, what is chlorenchyma? Chlorenchyma is filled with what? Chloroplast. Okay, they are responsible for what? They are found in leaves. They are responsible for photosynthesis. Okay, so this is what is the role of chlorenchyma. Chlorenchyma is a type of parenchyma filled with only chloroplast. So it will be like kind of like this, and it will have lots of chloroplast in it. Apart from the nucleus and other organelles. But what will be major? Many organelles will be what? Chloroplast only. So if it is filled with chloroplast, then we call them as what? We call them as chlorenchyma. Chlorenchyma are mostly found only in the leaves and green parts of the plant. They are responsible for photosynthesis and also for storage. For parenchyma itself, storage is a major function. Okay, the storage is going to be a huge function. Apart from that, this is a specialized parenchyma which will try to do some extra work. What is that extra work that it is trying to do? It is trying to do photosynthesis. Are we able to understand? Okay. Moving on further, what is parenchyma? Parenchyma are parenchyma that are parenchyma that contains gas vacuoles. They provide buoyancy for floating plants. Okay, so whenever you have this parenchyma, this parenchyma will contain gas vacuoles. They will contain gas vacuoles. Whenever they are having gas vacuoles, we call them as arenchyma. It will have air in it, lots of air. So what is it trying to do? It is trying to provide buoyancy. What do you mean by buoyancy? It will allow the plant to float. So you have lotus and all. Lotus is all floating. Similarly, you have different kinds of smaller plants which can float in water. So whichever plant which is to be floating will have lots of aerenchyma in it. Okay, so that floatability or buoyancy will be given by aerenchyma tissues. Okay, so quickly copy down. Okay, so then you have the third type. What is the third type? The third type is called as idioblast. This idioblast are structures that store oils, okay, tannins, etc. You have some structures. Okay, so you have like kind of like certain chemicals are produced in the plants, such as oil. Okay, you have some specialized structures which are called as tannins. Tannin is like kind of a substance. Just understand that it is a chemical which is produced in plant. Okay, you have seen that thing. No, if you are like seeing that drumstick and all, you'll see that gums and all will be there. Gum, those kind of structure will be stored in idioblast. They can store pigments, latex, all those things can be stored. Okay, these are all three types of parenchyma. Parenchyma is like kind of divided into three types. One is called as chlorenchyma, the second one is called as arenchyma, and the third one is called as idioblast. Chlorenchyma will contain chloroplast. Arenchyma will contain gas vacuoles, and idioblast will contain oils, tannins, gums, pigments, etc. So all these things will be present in idioblast. So these are all the types of parenchymatic tissues. You see, if you're going to take a tissue and then like if you're going to see this, you will be able to see this kind of cells. This is how your parenchyma will look like. If you're going to take a tissue and if you're seeing it under a microscope, you will be able to see such a structure. This is what is parenchyma. So you will able to see cells like this. Okay, so this is how your parenchyma will look like. Mostly it is oval or like irregular shaped. So that is what I am trying to tell. It is oval, spherical. Mostly it will be oval and spherical. Okay. So this is how your parenchyma will look like. So now we will try to move on further. The second type. These kind of cells will make a tissue. Parenchyma tissue is made up of parenchyma cells. When a group of parenchymatic cells are organized together, we call that as a parenchymatic tissue. Okay. So this is parenchyma. So now let us try to go ahead with the second type. The second type is what we call it as collenchyma. Okay. So they will be like this. Draw it, please. So draw it. Okay. So this is how your cells will be like looking. Children, if you have not submitted, please don't submit it again. You have lost it the chance. Okay. I'm not going to take the assignments any further. You please do the next week's assignment. You don't keep spamming my text now like this. If you haven't sent the assignment, done. It's done. I have marked it already. I have a timestamp as to who has submitted and who has not submitted. So next time onwards, if you have not submitted, means like, okay, I cannot like kind of thing. Okay, if you have not submitted, I have just marked it. So anyone who has not submitted is not going to get the thing. So next week's homework, see to that you are properly submitting. That's all. So coming back, colon kaima is like kind of a living tissue that is made up of collenchyma cells. The cells are elongated. They have thin wall or thick wall. What are you able to see? Are you able to see a thin wall or thick wall? Thick wall. The cell wall has pectin, which causes thickening. Okay. So what is causing this thickening? Basically, it is like the cell wall has this pectin. So now you have one particular thing which is there. Let us say that one cell is like this. This cell is having a thickening. This cell is also having a thickening, and this cell is also having a thickening. Then what is happening? This area has become thickened. Because of this extensions, the intercellular space is becoming absent almost. Okay. It's almost absent. Because of what? Because of thickening. What is the meaning of irregularly thick? Means like some places will be thicker than the other places. So let us say that this is a cell. Okay. Let us say that this place might be thick. So this place might be thick. Let us say this place is like kind of thick. So in between there will be thinner areas. So the even until it will not be like thick. That is what is irregularly thick. Some place will be like kind of like more thick than the other place. This kind of thickening is what we call it as uneven thickening, is what we call it as irregularly thick. Are we able to understand? Okay. So the main function of chlorenchyma, the main function of collenchyma is to be flexible. Is to not, I mean like what I mean is to make plants flexible. They are found where? They are found in the flexible parts of the plant. Okay, you take a plant and then you try to bend it. Will it bend or it will break? You take some part of a plant and then you try to bend it. In some places, if you are going to bend, it will bend. In some plants, some woody plants and all, if you are going to take it and bend it, it will break. Yes or no? In some places, it will bend. In some places, it will break. The places wherever you are able to bend, those cells are made up of collenchyma. So it will make the plant flexible. Okay, so in some parts you take a plant and then like you try to like bend it. Wherever you are bending it, if you are able to bend it, that particular region is made up of what? Collenchymatic tissue. But if it is getting broken, it is not made up of collenchyma tissue. So it will offer flexibility. So what is the meaning of flexible parts? The parts wherever you are able to bend. What is the main function of collenchyma? It gives what? Flexibility. Okay, it gives flexibility. This is the main function of collenchyma. Sanjay Raj, only your internet is like kind of troubled, I guess. I don't think my screen is lagging for others. It will have a rigid thick wall, but the substance which is there in the thick wall is like kind of bending. Okay, someone, Vel Adityan, is asking me, sir, if it is rigid and thick, how can it be flexible? Okay, so if they are asking basically like if they are asking like rigid and thick, how can it be flexible? There are some substances which can be thick and still can be flexible. You talk about a thick tube. A thick tube is like still thick as well as like it is like capable of what? It is flexible. You have metals which are tensile too. Okay, so this is with this thing, what is over? Collenchyma is over. So we have completed what and what? We have completed what is parenchyma and we have studied what is collenchyma. Now we are going to go into the next permanent tissue, sclerenchyma. There is no types of collenchyma. Okay, the next one is sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma is, they are dead tissues. In the plant. Okay, they offer mechanical strength to the plant. They give rigidity to the plant. Okay, there are two types of sclerenchyma. Okay, yes, wait a minute. I'll draw the diagram for sclerenchyma. There are two types of sclerenchymatic cells. One we call them as what? One we call them as fibers, and the other one we call it as sclerites. Just a second. This is the spelling. You have fibers and you have sclerites. The fibers as well as sclerites. These are the two types. First, you copy this thing down. I'll draw the diagram now in the next page. Yeah, I will explain the types. Just wait for some time. What is the spelling for sclerenchyma? I have given it, no? It is there in the heading. That is the proper spelling. Okay. This is wrong. The heading is correct. This H will not come. Okay. Next one, we will try to talk about this fibers. Actually, I'll show you the diagram first before we move on. Wait a minute. Okay. This is how your sclerenchyma will look like. Just a second. Allow it to load so that it will become clearer. Wait a minute. Yeah, this one is a better picture. So your sclerenchyma will be looking like this. Okay. This is how your sclerenchymatic fiber will look like. And this is what is your scleroid will look like. Please copy this diagram. I'll explain. Try to draw such diagrams. Fiber is relatively easy to draw. You can draw both the diagrams. Please draw both the diagrams, not only fibers. Okay. So what you're seeing here is you're able to see a fiber. A fiber is something which is like kind of a type of a sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma is like kind of a dead tissue. Something that you should know is like sclerenchyma is like a dead tissue. And one more point that you need to know is you need to know that sclerenchyma has lignin in the cell wall. This lignin gives mechanical strength. Okay, if you see fiber, the fiber will look like this. This is the wall, and inside that empty space, we call it as lumen. This is how your fiber will look like. It will have just a cell wall, a thick wall, and then in between, inside the thing, you have something called as a lumen. So that white part, that in between part is the lumen. Here they have like pointed both these things as lumen, but the in between part is what we call it as lumen. And then you can see the sclerites. Sclerite is like kind of oval or spherical, and then it will have a thick lumen in the center. So if you're going to talk about sclerites, sclerites will have like a wall, thick wall will be there outside, in which you will have the structure. Okay, like this, it will be like branching out. Okay, so this kind of things will be there. Here, whatever you're seeing in between, we call them as pits. You have the thick wall. Okay, and then you have, and then in between you have that gaps. We call that as what? We call them as pits. Okay, so this region is called as a pit. This orange region in between is called as a pit. So these regions are called as pits. Okay, and this white color lining which is happening is the wall. And then in the center you have the sclerite. So where can you find all these sclerenchymatic tissues? You can find it in some specific regions. You have this coconut, husk of the coconut. Woody parts of the plant. Okay, so all these regions you will see what? You will see fibers. Are regions where we can see what? Sclerenchyma fibers. You all have this thing, no? Tenganar. Tenganar is what is husk of the coconut. Whenever you are having coconut, that end part of the coconut, you will have some husk attached to it. The tenganar is what we call it as husk of the coconut. So that coconut husk of the coconut will have what? It will be made up of what tissues? It is made up of sclerenchymatic fibers. You see that they are all dead. Even if you're like going to crush it, nothing is going to happen to the life of it. So which means like that part and all is like dead part of the plant. And one more thing that you should know is gritty part of the of fruits like pear, okay, has sclerites. Lumen is like an empty space. They are not isodiametric. Look at them. Are you able to see them? Like, are they looking alike, or are all cells looking alike? Do you think every cell will look alike? No. Gritty part means like you eat pear. Pear na berika. If you're eating this berika, in between you will be getting some spots where you will be able to see nara nara and irkulla. You will have that whenever you are eating this berika. You know what is pear, right? Pear is berry. In apple you will feel it. In some places, some stony structures you will be able to feel. That is called as the gritty part of the fruit. Gritty part na nara nara and irukadu. Let me see if I am able to get a picture of that part. You eat pear, in that pear you will get that gritty part. Wait a minute, this is pear that you are able to see. Or like wait, let us say sclerites. You see this one, they have like kind of taken some of this part of this pear. Okay, you see this thing. If you are taking a pear here, this part is like gritty. This part will be gritty. If you are going to take this part and then like if you are going to see it, you will be able to see this thing. If you are like seeing it under a microscope. Okay, we call this stone cells. Stone cells of pear fruit. It is a type of a sclerate. You are able to get this thing. The stone cell here will be a sclerate. Are we guys able to understand? Okay, with this thing, what is over? Your permanent tissues, the simple permanent tissues are over. So you have three types of simple permanent tissues. We have studied about permanent tissue, simple permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissues are, you have the first one is parenchyma. The second one is parenchyma. And the third one is sclerenchyma. In parenchyma, you have three types: chlorenchyma, You have Erenchima, and then you have idioblast. In Collenchyma, you don't have types. In Sclerenchyma, you will have fibers and sclerites. Okay, so this is what we have studied for the entire day. Okay, so this is how your simple permanent tissues are there. So in the next class, we'll go for complex permanent tissues. Okay, someone is asking me how to do that question, last question, the homework question, last week's question. I'll just read the question first of all. A cell has 40 chromosomes. In it. What will be the number of chromosomes after mitosis? Okay. So it is having 40 chromosomes. So if it is going to have 40 chromosomes, it will multiply. And it will multiply into what? 40 into 2. And then it will divide, mitosis will happen. It will have 40 and 40. That's all. If the same thing, what will happen after the chromosome after meiosis? If it is having 40 chromosomes, mitosis is A, and what is B? B is meiosis. 40 will multiply. 40 into 2. Then meiosis 1 will happen. It will convert into 20 into 2, 20 into 2. After that, meiosis 2 will happen. Here also meiosis 2 will happen. So after this, this will become 20, 20. This will become 20. This will become 20. So ultimately, how many? It will become 20. 4 20s. So in this case, the answer is 40. In this case, it will become 20. So this is the answer here. This is the answer here. Are we able to understand? If you are already submitted, why do you want to submit it again? What sort of question is this? Why do you have to submit whatever is submitted already? Okay, so this is the answer for the second question. So this week's homework. This week I don't want you to submit homeworks. I want you to submit the notes for tissues lesson. Whatever you have written so far, I want you to submit it. Take a photograph and submit it. Okay. So in case if you have not completed and all those things, you please see to that like you're completing it and then you're submitting your note so that I will be able to see what you have written. Okay, don't send it as a photograph. Try to send it as a PDF. Okay. So I'll just show all the slides. First slide. Second slide. Third slide. Yes, to my don't I mean like I don't want people to send it to my mobile number and all. I don't know how you got it at first place. Please send it to mail ID only. Fourth, fifth, nothing to my mobile number, only to mail ID. Sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. Thank you, children. Thank you. Sir,
Okay,
Mudste.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah.